Welcome to District 31 Club Close-Up, a video interview series where I interview clubs from District 31. We learn about their club, the great things they're doing to engage their existing members, and how they're recruiting new ones. I'm your host, Christian Austin, the 2023-2024 District 31 Public Relations Manager. And in today's episode, we are going to be interviewing the Metrowest Toastmasters Club. Metrowest is a distinguished Toastmasters club, in particular, President's Distinguished Club for 6 years in a row since their founding. I just have to commend them on that. That is something that most clubs do not do. They do not get President's Distinguished even once, and this is 6 years in a row. So congratulations for that. Metrowest Toastmasters Club is a community club. So what that means is that you can join their club as well. There's corporate clubs and advanced clubs, which have some restrictions, but a community club is open to everybody who wants to come check out the clubs. Regardless of what your goals are, what your speaking or leadership abilities are, you can join Metrowest Toastmasters to enhance those skills. As I mentioned before, 6 years consecutively, this President's Distinguished Club, they were founded in 2017. So that means each year that they were a club in District 31, they earned that distinction. They are also a hybrid club. So what that means is if you would like to join virtually, that is something you can do. But every other meeting, they also do hybrid. So they have one virtual meeting a month and they have one hybrid meeting a month. And we will talk more about that at the end of the video. It will also be in the video description about how you can join the club both virtually and in person. Tonight, we are going to be doing a panel discussion where I'll be the moderator and each of the officers joining us today from Metrowest Toastmasters will be a panelist. I'll ask a question and then we'll open the floor to whoever wants to respond. And we can go around the room until there's no more responses, and then I'll move on to the next question. But before we get started, I want to tell everyone, you need to get those notebooks out. We are learning from a President's Distinguished Club for 6 years in a row. Are you registering that? That means that you want to take notes on what they're doing to get those members engaged, to get them meeting their goals, and bring that back to your club as well. But before we start with the questions, I'd like to go around the room so that each of the officers from the Metrowest Toastmasters Club can introduce themselves. And let's start on the left, or left for me at least, I don't know how it's going to appear for you, the president of the club, Rick Weiner. Rick, can you please introduce yourself?
Well, thank you. You just did. My name is Rick Weiner. I am Distinguished Toastmaster and a past District Director in 2015-16 of District 31. I got involved in Toastmasters, I think it was in 2008, where my wife dragged me to a meeting at a club and said, "You'll enjoy this." I went to my first meeting. I said, "Yeah, I can participate in a contest." They said, "Well, you have to be a member first." And that was the beginning of a journey that has been fabulous. I've been very involved, as I said, a past District Director, and a very proud member of the Metrowest Toastmasters Club.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for that, Rick. And just as Rick mentioned, a past District Director. So what that means is that District 31, in the year that Rick was the District Director, he was the head of the district as well. So from joining Toastmasters, gaining leadership skills at both the club level and then moving up to the district level and becoming the District Director. So take some leadership advice from Rick this evening. I'm sure he's going to have some good tidbits to share with all of us. Thank you for that, Rick.
One quickie, I'm the first District Director of District 31.
Oh, the first, because why was that, Rick? What was the title before that?
District Governor. They changed the title.
District Governor. So we changed the title, and we have a person with us this evening as well. Thanks for pointing that out, Rick. All right, moving on next to our VP of Education. I won't say your name, so I spoil it. Our VP of Education, can you please introduce yourself?
My pleasure. My name is Lori Whitmore, and I have been a Toastmaster since 1996. First joined at a corporate club in Boston and have been in Toastmaster ever since, although not always an active member, but I've been an active member for more than 20 years. I have served as club president more than 6 times at various clubs and as district supporting leader. And what I want to share about Toastmasters that keeps me coming back is I love the evaluation portion of a meeting. I always share that I consider evaluations the hidden gem of Toastmasters, where we learn the art of giving feedback. And it's an art on how to give feedback in a way that's positive and helpful. And it's something that we do really well in our Metrowest Toastmasters Club.
For that, Lori, and thank you for emphasizing that point of evaluations. And you said hidden gem. I really like that, because a lot of times when I hear Toastmasters, people think it's about giving that speech and getting comfortable. Yes, that's what it's about, but that's only half of the equation. If you're not getting that feedback that is constructive and helping the person grow as a speaker, they are not getting any better at speaking, maybe more comfortable, but you need feedback from other people to continue to advance those skills. So thanks for pointing that out, Lori. Moving on next to our Vice President of Membership.
Good evening, Christian. My name is Vicki Wegweiser, and I joined Toastmasters in 2017. Originally, I joined to improve my speaking ability, specifically for elevator pitches. At the time, I was helping support my husband. He was self-employed, and I often had to substitute for him at various networking events, and I needed an elevator pitch that I could just roll off my tongue very quickly. As time went on, I discovered that I wanted to be able to improve my presentation skills for more than just elevator pitches. I also am self-employed, and I create jewelry, and I want to be able to give presentations when I need to. And I wanted to do that in a very supporting environment. And I was very impressed with the way Toastmasters supports its members with the evaluations, with all kinds of other feedback that's sort of off the record, as it were. And I was asked to become an officer. And so I've taken on the role, and I'm doing my best. And I'm improving my leadership skills as well. So I'm really enjoying Toastmasters, and I hope to continue with it for a very long time. As a VP of membership, I help new members get on board. I send them the welcome packet and try to get them started right away, and then hopefully they come on board and they're enthused about it, and then they hopefully will become leaders in the not too distant future. So that is what I see as my role as well. Back to you.
Thank you for sharing that, Vicki. We heard, Vicki, you said several things. You got involved to get better at the elevator pitch. So you're in your own business, you're selling something, you need to pitch it. Toastmasters can help with that. You evolved to, hey, I'm a business owner, I need to get better presenting. Toastmasters could do that for me too. And third thing, I didn't necessarily join Toastmasters to improve my leadership skills, but I got asked to be an officer, and I said, yes, I'm going to be an officer. And now I'm going to become a stronger leader as well by taking on that role. So those 3 things, thank you for mentioning all of those, Vicki, all things that Toastmasters can help you improve. And our VP of PR, last but not least.
Thanks, Christian. My name is Heather Platt, and I joined about almost 3 years ago. And I joined because I wanted to improve my interviewing skills and also presentation skills for my career. And it helped me. I got a job because I think that actually, to be honest with you, I think the table topics really helped me. It's like the on the spur questions that, and you know, a lot of that's what happens in interviews. You get asked sometimes on the spur questions that you weren't expecting. So that it did definitely help me. And I'm sure it's going to help me more with presenting workshops and things I need to do at work too. So I started off, I guess, for about 3 or 4 months. I wasn't an officer, and then I was asked by the president at that time. The president was Lori, and she asked me to be to get on the board. So I was sergeant at arms for a year, and then the next year I decided to be secretary, and I did that for a year, and now I'm VP of PR.
Thank you for sharing that evolution, Heather. And you brought up spontaneous speaking and table topics, helping with interviewing skills, something that we didn't hear yet that I've heard from other people as well. Get good on your feet at answering those questions, because during the interview, maybe you have an idea of what's coming at you, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be. Exactly what happens in table topics. Get that practice bi-weekly, or if your club meets more than that, even more frequently. Those skills that you may think are just in the Toastmasters meeting translate into real life as well. And congratulations on getting that job from having those great interviewing skills, Heather. Now, talking about questions on a spur, let's get into asking some of those questions. I will be the moderator, and I have some questions for all of you officers this evening, because we're going to have a panel discussion / table topic session on answering some spontaneous questions that I'm going to ask. And my first question for everyone is just an overall question about the club. How would you describe Metrowest Toastmasters? And if you had a motto, what would it be?
Metrowest Toastmasters was created, could almost use the expression hybrid club. Half the members were experienced Toastmasters, and the other half were people that were new to Toastmasters. By doing this, we were able to mentor new people with experienced members, rather than everybody starting off as a neophyte. This, I think, has been very successful for us as a club. Lori was the founding member of the club. She's the one who chartered the club, and I supported her around that. The thing about Metrowest, I think, that has been really positive is the method of really supporting each other and making sure that everybody is getting what they're joining the club for, to get out of it, what they wanted to get out of the club. And that's an important part of Toastmasters. The club is, the members are number one, not the officers.
Thanks for sharing.
Anyone else
Rick.
want to?
I'd like to add to that. Yeah, I had this vision when we chartered the club to find some dual members who were transfers. So that when we chartered this club, we had 10 experienced Toastmasters and 10 brand new people. That helped us hit the ground running, have people who were strong, members who were strong enough to mentor others. And that's how we achieved President's Distinguished our first year, because of that model. I recommend that model for creating brand new clubs. The thing that we do really well in Metro West is that we encourage people not only to give speeches and to get credit for speeches, but also to take on the leadership roles in a meeting: Toastmaster, GE, Topics Master, Speech Evaluator. You build skills in taking on those roles as well, and you build confidence So it's that balance of completing speeches, but also taking on meeting leadership roles and eventually officer roles. In fact, I'm pretty sure I recruited all three of you, Rick, Heather, and Vicki, to be an officer. Kind of look for that opportunity to bring someone in the officer team and then help groom them over time.
Thank you for sharing that, Lori.
Oh, and so the motto that I would choose is something I learned from a past district director many years ago: hold perfect meetings. To me, a perfect meeting is a meeting where all the roles are filled before you begin. There's no chaos when we start our meetings. We might have one or two minor roles that might not be filled, but we have speakers lined up. We have a Toastmaster, a Topics Master, a DE, and evaluators. And by holding perfect meetings, our meetings are well organized, start on time, end on time, with a lot of learning in between and fun.
Lori, you mentioned a lot there, and that split between neophyte, which Rick mentioned, and experienced Toastmaster, you both mentioned this. That is a great combination, and now I can see how your presidents distinguished the first year by having those experienced Toastmasters supporting those newer members as well. Is there also a mentorship program that's affiliated with the experienced members mentoring the new members as well?
Absolutely. So it's not a formal program, but our VP of membership leads the way when new members join. We set them up with a mentor in the club. Certainly, it's become essential since Pathways to have a mentor. Nobody can figure out Pathways by themselves. It's brutal. And so they need a mentor to help them with Pathways, and also to just have the confidence and get the hang of doing the different roles and preparing their first few speeches. So we definitely match up mentors and mentees. Some years we've done it more formal than others.
So matching those experienced members up, and then you mentioned holding those perfect meetings, getting those meeting roles filled, having speakers, having the roles in the meeting filled. And I'm guessing that mentoring or informal mentoring by the experienced members and the newer members is letting them know how to actually fill those roles so that you're getting those meeting agenda filled beforehand.
Right. And certainly using Free Toast Host for our agenda helps, because people can sign up directly and we can communicate with the club members and mention what roles need to be filled. So as VP of Ed, I do that in the big picture for at least our next meeting, and then the Toastmaster, the upcoming Toastmaster for the meeting, helps fill in the rest of the roles in making requests, doing the planning in advance. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, as last year was my second time being president. I was the president the first year for the club. I have mentored presidents, subsequent presidents that came after me, and I have taught them, and I also do it myself, to pay attention that when people are taking on a role for the first time, we help mentor them on that role so that they can perform that role well, and that everyone learns from what they're doing. So that's part of having perfect meetings, is being prepared to do the role and to have gotten some guidance in advance to do that role well.
So not only is the perfect meeting having the roles filled, but making sure everybody knows what they're doing in the role as well. And that is not just on the new members to try to figure out themselves. That is on the experienced club members to guide them along, to make the club as a whole strong through the education that the experienced members are giving those newer members.
Correct. We also have a member download section on our website. I think it's in public downloads as well, where we have a document for every role in the meeting. When you are the Toastmaster, when you are the GE, when you are the topics master, when you are the timer, ... For every role, there's at least a page of information. So when you're brand new, you can read that to help you prepare.
So a roadmap, in addition to having experienced Toastmaster help guide them on that roadmap.
Correct.
And then before we move on, Lori, you mentioned Free Toast Host. For those who don't know what Free Toast Host is, can you please tell us what Free Toast Host is?
Sure. Free Toast Host is a free web-based program that many Toastmasters clubs use for hosting their agendas and their membership information. And once you have it set up, it becomes the basis for the way your club can share information and prepare your agenda for each upcoming meeting. It also helps you keep track of the speeches you've done because you put in your project and your title and you can run some reports. I've used that information to go back. It's from the history of when you've joined the club. So it's really, really useful. Highly recommend it. If you're doing manual agendas in Microsoft Word, go to Free Toast Host.
Go to Free Toast Host, get that free website, and have that agenda automatically populated so you can print it out and members can sign up beforehand, as Lori mentioned. And the district just might have a Free Toast Host training that they offer as well. So keep your eye open for that. And yours truly may be doing it. Lori has done it in the past.
Yes, I have done that in the past.
All right. Well, we're talking about meeting planning. That's a perfect segue because I had a meeting planning question for everyone. And I wanted to know, you already touched upon some of these, your best practices for filling those meeting roles ahead of time. We just heard about Free Toast Host. We heard about the Toastmaster reaching out if Free Toast Host was not completely filled before the meeting. Any other best practices you have for filling those meeting roles ahead of time and having that perfect meeting?
Well, as VP of Ed, that's the biggest role for the VP of Ed. At the end of every meeting, we bring the VP of Ed sharing their screen, and we bring up the next meeting's agenda, and whoever is currently participating in the current meeting has an opportunity to sign up for a role. They're recruited for a role if they don't volunteer. You can also sign up on your own in advance. I've been a member of clubs in the past where the VP of Ed was able to put a schedule together and assign people to roles, say a month or 6 weeks in advance for multiple upcoming meetings, and that has not worked well in our club. So we just fill the next meeting's agenda at the end of the prior meeting. That's how we do it.
What happens if you don't get all the meetings roles filled by volunteers? Are you looking at who filled a role previously, and if they haven't in a while, ask them to do it?
No. So first of all, Free Toast Host has this wonderful feature that as you're scrolling through names to assign somebody a role, waiting for someone to volunteer, it has little numbers next to people's names. And that is the number of times someone has performed that role. So if I'm going to encourage somebody, I'm looking at those numbers to see, oh, this is someone who hasn't really done Tabletop Master too many times, so I'll encourage them to do it. So it's just built right into Free Toast Host to help that guidance. And whatever roles are not filled by the end of that meeting, then it's the Toastmaster's responsibility, who will be taking on the communication and planning for the next week and a half before the next meeting to continue to recruit to fill those roles.
Again, another utilization of that Free Toast Host. You can see how many times your members have signed up for a certain role by looking at that number next to their name in the meeting role report. Great tip there. Anyone else like to?
Not even the meeting role report, Christian. when you're in editing the agenda and you want to assign, say Heather has raised her hand and tells me she wants to do a role. While I'm scrolling for her name to assign her the role, it shows me the number next to each person's name. You don't even have to run a member role report.
So even easier, there's no having to go to that member role report. You just see that number next to the person's name. Very easy system to use, very easy tracking as well. Would anyone else like to share any best practices? We had our VP of Education who is mainly responsible, but if anyone else has any tips.
It's always good, excuse me, it's always good to somebody that has not had a role for a while to ask them to volunteer for a role. Christian, would you like to be a speaker at the next meeting? By doing that, you're getting somebody that's maybe a little bit shy to volunteer will say, okay, I'll try it. Something else that we've been doing, when we have a guest that really seems to be interested, asking them, would you like to participate in the next meeting? Well, I'm not a member. Well, you could be. There's a way to encourage somebody to step forward to become a member, but also to know that they're welcomed and wanted.
Yeah, we're pretty sneaky that way, especially Rick, but I've been learning from him to do the same. We'll invite a guest to be a timer or to take on a minor role at the next meeting, and then, oh, well, then you can join and we'll sign you right up. And it kind of gives them that little push instead of perhaps they might be thinking about it for weeks. So that's worked really well.
Right, and the other thing that does too is you're instilling confidence that you know they can do the role. You let them know that they're a guest, but they're not only welcome in the club, but you're confident that they can fill that role by asking them to do that. They come back to the next meeting, they say, hey, Lori or Rick told me I could do this role. I think I can do it. I'm going to give it a try. And they fit right into that meeting role and right into the club. Moving on now, we talked in the beginning, you mentioned about how, Lori, you recruited the club officers on this call. And I want to know, how do you identify and encourage future club leaders?
So as the first president for the club, and then I mentored the next 4 presidents that came after me, and I was part of the nominating committee for the slate, for the next slate of officers. I've helped past presidents help figure out that slate. We try not to ask somebody who's only been a member for a couple of months, but once you've been a member for at least 6 months, we consider you game. And what we try to do is there's 7 officer roles. We try to have 3 or 4 officers continue in a different role, but continue on the officer team, and bring in 3 new people every year. That's how you can help build leadership on the team. We need to maintain, we wouldn't want 7 new people, they wouldn't know how to run the club. But by maintaining 4 previous officers and then bringing 3 brand new people, brand new members on board into the officer team, I always offer to mentor them because they're often scared at first and they don't end up needing that much mentoring. We work as a team, we support each other. Even though we each have our own role to fulfill, we support each other in everything that needs to be done for the club. So we build a lot of team synergy that way.
Lori, you mentioned the members not too new, but they could still be new members. You don't necessarily have to be, for everyone I'm talking, not to the club, but to everyone in general, you don't have to be a Toastmaster for as long as Lori's been a Toastmaster to be a club officer. As we heard, Heather think you said you were a member for 3 years and then you became an officer. So you can be a newer Toastmaster and you can participate in being an officer of the club and gaining those leadership skills as well. Heather, did you
3
want to say
months.
something?
3 months.
3 months?
I was an officer for 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, I was on the club for 3 months, but I mean, it was the sergeant of arms. It wasn't that, and we were virtual at the time. But I actually, as a sergeant of arms, not only did I contribute to the discussion, but sometimes, like when the secretary was out, I would like take minutes. So yeah.
So I stand
Yeah,
corrected.
so we
3
recruited
years,
Heather.
3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather's been a member for 3 years, and this is her 3rd officer role.
Right.
We
So
didn't wait 3 years to pull her in.
Yeah. You identified, you saw Heather, you saw the leadership abilities in that 3 months she was part of the club. And as you said, ask somebody to be a club officer, but don't just ask them, be there to support them as well as mentoring them, not only as a speaker, but as a leader in the club as well, offering that mentorship to make them feel more comfortable as a club officer, because it can seem pretty intimidating in the very beginning if you're asked to take on that leadership role.
And, you know, Christian, it's not really just looking for leadership ability, because I think we foster and help create leadership ability. It's really encouraging every new member after a few months of membership to be a part of the officer team. I tell them they get to learn the inner workings of the club and what we do behind the scenes. And, you know, coming on board, like Heather said, Sergeant at Arms, for when we were just meeting on Zoom, it was a not very demanding kind of job. But she attended all the officer meetings and got to see how the club is run, and sometimes filled in taking minutes or maybe promoting something. And so you just become part of the inner circle of the club leadership team. And over time, you build confidence and grow into a bigger role.
Thank you, Lori.
Something I would like to add is, it used to be said that Toastmasters is the greatest place to fail. You can't get fired from your job if you make a mistake in Toastmasters. When we're looking for new leaders or people to step up for an officer's position, if they make a mistake, if they fail, that's okay. There's other people to also work with them. If you're going to fail here, not at work. Great learning opportunity. That's why Toastmasters creates leaders.
You know, Rick, I also heard somebody say they called it the leadership lab as well. So you can experiment with your leadership skills, your speaking skills, and you said it's not that you're not going to get fired from your Toastmasters club. Everyone expects people to push their boundaries, to maybe be a little uncomfortable at times. You're not doing this in front of your boss, in front of a potential new business deal. You practice it in Toastmasters, and that's how you get better. Moving on now, let's talk a little about recruiting. I think implicitly, you've talked about how you get those members engaged or guests offering to come back and fill that meeting role, maybe at the next meeting. But to dig a little deeper on that, your club, they recruited 6 new members last Toastmasters year. Are you some marketing methods that are working for you to recruit members? And do you have any tips that you can give on how you're recruiting new members?
I think the best people to answer that question would be our VP of PR and our VP of membership.
All right. Heather or Vicky, do you have any input on that?
Heather, do you have any input?
Can you repeat the question again? Because it's a
Sure
long
will.
question.
You recruited 6 new members last year. What are some of your marketing methods that are working well to recruit new members? And what are some tips that you can give for recruiting members?
Heather, while you're thinking, I'll share a few things.
Yeah, I wasn't the VP of PR last year, but yeah, okay.
That's okay. I mean, we pay attention to when renewals are needed, and we run an open house. Sometimes we run 2 or 3 open houses. We focus those open houses more in the spring than in the fall, because someone could join in the fall and then not renew, and then we're not going to meet our minimum of 20 members. We often would have an open house in April and in May, and we encourage word of mouth. We encourage our members to bring a guest. I think that's been the most successful way to find new people. Occasionally, it's through social media. I know Heather found us through social media. And we do flyers and send emails. We have sent emails to the entire district encouraging people to come to our open house. We put communication out like in the whole Framingham community, where there's more than 500 families on an email list. We've gotten some people coming to an open house for that, but I think that, you know, it's a numbers game. Get 5, 6, 7 people to an open house, maybe 2 or 3 will join, and we do it twice, at least twice. So open houses, and the VP of PR and the VP of membership are the ones who drive a lot. Excuse me. They drive a lot of the open house, and Vicki and Heather will be doing that this spring.
So I just wanted to say, last year, I mean, so we have a meetup page. I mean, it's part of the district's meetup page, but we have our own part of that meetup. And so a lot of people see us through that. And then one thing we're doing this year for the first time is we're doing a group page on LinkedIn for our group. And so we're going to network on LinkedIn, which is like a really good thing, because, you know, we can invite people in our network, like in our, and whoever like we invite, you know, part, like, let's say all the members in our group, we can invite other members within our network to be part of that group. And it's perfect because a lot of people join Toastmasters for career skills, you know, for presentation skills in their career and interview skills. So it kind of matches that.
Heather, for those who are not familiar with LinkedIn in groups, how does that work? Does Metro West have a LinkedIn group?
Yeah, so what we had to do is, no, so Metro West has a group, but it's basically, I guess there's more than one way to do it. But what we did is, I have my own LinkedIn page, but I can add a group page to my LinkedIn page. And actually, I learned this from professional development when I was in my PR group. The leader of the PR group told me about this. You can take your, I guess the group page, you can make a group page off of your LinkedIn profile. And so that's what we did. And I used other people in Metro West to help me with editing it, so it, you know, it read well for our group. And then we just started it. So, and you know, we have about 2, 3, 4, 5 people from our group on the group page so far. And then I haven't invited everybody yet because we just started it. Yeah, most of the officers are on it, but we're going to invite everyone in our group, and then we can start inviting people in networking. And I think that we can also post events and also post things about the group, you know, so yeah.
But we've had a Facebook presence since the club chartered, and also what was the one that you mentioned, Heather, that you found us?
Oh, Meetup. That's what I was just talking about.
Meetup, right. We've had a Meetup presence and a Facebook presence since the club chartered. So that's also something that we've done.
Yeah, a lot of people find us through Meetup, actually.
For Meetup, okay, that is good to hear. I know now that we're meeting in person a lot more this past year, that some clubs are using Meetup again. And it's good to hear that that is working to help people find Toastmasters Club, with Heather being an example of that. And the other thing I got out of that is experiment too. Experiment with your marketing. You're experimenting now with a LinkedIn group. It's something that's new. You're having the other Metro West members join that group, and then you're going to start networking and spreading out the word about that group to other people with related interest, and hopefully attracting more members into your club using that method.
So, something else that I think is positive is when we do have the hybrid meeting and people come to our meeting, is that it's not only the VP membership's role to go out and talk to them. All the officers, everybody is VP membership at that moment. Everybody has to connect with the guest, make them feel welcome and wanted, because they are. And by doing it that way, people tend to feel like, yeah, this is not a bad place to be. Possibly will join and help the club and help themselves.
Right, Rick, because it's not just about one person interfacing, it's a club consisting of multiple people. And if multiple people are welcoming that guest, encouraging them in the meeting role, they're going to feel part of that club community.
You know, the other thing that we do is that sandwich method, the Oreo cookie method for evaluations, right? And a lot of meetings that we mention things that the member did well in their presentation, and we mention at least one area for improvement, and then we finish it up with something encouraging. We do that for every role in the meeting, not just the speakers. We give feedback on evaluators. We give feedback for thought of the day or a joke. And I think our guests notice that the feedback we're giving is helpful and encouraging, and they see it as it's not threatening or it's not criticizing, and they see it as an opportunity to grow and improve, and that helps them want to join our club.
Tip in itself, Lori, I am not familiar with a lot of clubs that give feedback on all of the roles, or if not all of the roles outside of the speaker. That is something that a club can practice as well. Everybody needs feedback, regardless if they're giving a pre-prepared speech. Give evaluators feedback. We have an evaluation contest in the district where evaluators are being judged on how well they've given somebody an evaluation.
So we add 5 minutes to our agenda for the GE to give a summary evaluation of the meeting, including going through every meeting role. We even give feedback on table topic speakers. So we can't go into great length, but 15, 20 seconds on each role so that we say something about that role.
Lori, and is that on your agenda consistently, that time block?
Yes, that's 5 minutes at the end of the meeting. We have our GE come up twice, which is a little bit different, but I set it up like that when I was president last year, because the wiggle room in a meeting are table topics. I want table topics to be at the very, very end. If people go over on their speeches or go over on evaluations, the way you can make your meeting end on time, the wiggle room is only in how many table topic speakers do you have. So first we do our warm-up roles. Then we have our speakers. Then we have the GE introduce the 3 evaluators after we take a break. We take a break, we have the evaluations. Then we turn the meeting back to the Toastmaster, who introduces the table topics master. We do our table topics, and then we build in for when the GE calls on reports. We have 5 minutes in the agenda for the GE to also give feedback on all the meeting roles, including table topics.
Good idea to put that table topics at the end as well, because as you mentioned, that's highly variable, the meeting sometimes, and then the table topics, you can shorten or lengthen table topics depending on how the meeting has gone to make sure that meeting ends on time as well.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I'd like to talk a little more about education now. We've talked about giving speeches. The Pathways program has been mentioned during our panel discussion. So I want to point out to everyone that your club last year completed 15 Pathways levels. That means that members in your club, between all of them, there's a distinguished club program where you get points. And in that distinguished club program, 15 levels were completed in Pathways. How are you encouraging members to give Pathways speeches and complete those projects in base camp so that you are getting credit in the Distinguished Club program?
Early on in my Toastmasters career, I learned from, I'll say her name, Hillary Wilson, that we should not do anything without getting credit for it. We have a speech to make, you make a speech and you get credit for it. This is a way of growing. Not only are you getting credit for it, but you're getting the feedback to help you do better next time. So one way to encourage people to do Pathways projects are we want them to do a project where they're going to get an evaluation and have the next step. Pathways, I personally think, is easier to advance because how many speeches do you have to go through to get your first complete level 1, complete level 2, all the way up. And by doing that, you're seeing faster advancement. Now, we don't give out certificates for each level. That's not something that we've been doing. But we do recognize people for accomplishing a level. But I think that the number one thing is, and as Lori said, we give the feedback even on table topics, even on the president one, if I open the meeting 1 minute late. That is pointed out. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything that Toastmasters recommends doing and showing that there's an advantage and a reason for each role, that each role is important. New members are not going to get up and give a speech, but they might give a joke. Or they might be willing to be timer, or they might be willing to give thought of the day. Grammarian, the minor roles. Having everybody do that, similar to what the Confident Leadership book was. We take that attitude that these are roles that everybody should be doing, not just because there's no leadership manual anymore. It's all part of the program. So by encouraging people to do a role, be critiqued on it, go to the next step, I think encourages people to get there, and it helps the club by getting the points, and it helps the member.
Free Toast Host helps encourage these Pathways projects as well, indirectly. Because when you sign up for a speaking slot, you need Free Toast Host is part of registering or assigning yourself that role. You need to pick what Pathways project you're working on, what paths and project, and put in your speech title and introduction. And as a Toastmaster, we send email to our speakers, please fill out your project and introduction information so we can properly introduce you. So it indirectly encourages the member to choose a project in Pathways. They don't just sign up to give a speech just to talk. And if they're giving a speech for a professional situation, I know Heather has done that in the past, many people have. Sometimes even if you have a 45-minute presentation, maybe you do 3 speeches and break it down into smaller segments to fit into our agenda, and you get to practice how you deliver those. When people participate in contests, we encourage them, get evaluation for that. So we encourage people to get credit for the speeches they deliver, and I help them sometimes find the right project in their path that it will qualify for, but most of the time, the projects are about a technique, not about the content. And so we can make that work. But I think Free Toast Host, just filling in that you're signing up for a speech, helps encourage members to work in the Pathways program.
And as Lori mentioned, Free Toast Host, when you go and you sign up for one of those speeches, you can choose your path, you choose the project. There's a nice, easy drop-down list, and then an introduction and speech title. You can include it all in that agenda, as you mentioned before. And then when you print the agenda out, all of that information is available for your members in the meeting as well.
Right, and the evaluator can find the evaluation for that project right in the agenda. I mean, it's just so easy.
So to track those Pathways projects, encourage those members. If you don't have Free Toast Host, go get it. If you do, encourage the members to fill out all the fields in the Free Toast Host. Another easy way to not only, as we were talking about, tracking member roles, tracking member speeches in Free Toast Host as well. Part of the success of Metrowest Toastmasters having those 15 completed Pathways projects last year. Now I'd like to...
one other thing we do, wait, Christian, I wanted to add
Sure.
that we take the club success program very seriously. We build out an Excel spreadsheet at the beginning of the year. The president goes over that with the officers at least every other officer meeting. And we track closely who are the candidates, who are our potentials for finishing level 1s, for finishing level 2s, for finishing level 3s, 4 and 5. And we might identify 4 or 5 members, and then we track which of the 1 or 2 that actually did it, or the 4 that we needed for a level 1. We track that all year long so that we achieve those goals. So for example, when Heather completed her level 1, then we put her right on the schedule for the following year to complete a level 2. And now we've got her on there to complete a level 3, and we encourage Vicki the same. So people are encouraged to at least complete their level 1 when they're new. And then once they've got 1 done, we encourage them to do another the following year.
And Lori, as you mentioned,
Now the high performing people can do levels 1, 2, 3 or more in 1 year, but new people, even 1 level per year, we have that constant influx and progression.
And that ties into what Rick said with getting credit for what you do and keep on advancing within that pathway system. You have levels, you just follow the levels. And as you said, use that club success plan to map out who has achieved a certain level. And then once they're done with a certain level, encourage them the next year to put their name in that club success plan as completing that next level. And then the other key point there is, maybe we're making a club success plan at the beginning of the year. What good is it if we're not looking back at it during the year to make sure that the benchmarks that we put in the beginning of the year, we're following along the trajectory throughout the year as well? That's the reason for having that club success plan, to making sure that we are following that plan to the club's goals. And we've talked about, perfect segue, because the Club Success Plan talks about education goals in the Distinguished Club program, and it's a lot of members' goals to get better at speaking. But as a community club, not having a restrictions of a corporation and having people within there who are part of the corporation that tend to have very similar goals, being that community club where anybody can come to your club with highly variable goals. Do you find that members have highly variable goals when they come to your club? And how do you ensure that members achieve their goals and remain engaged?
I would say checking in with people. If somebody is not doing speeches, our VP Ed, Lori, at the end of the meeting will say to him, hey, Vicki, you haven't given a speech in a while. Would you like to do one? And she'll go, yeah, I guess I can. Checking in with people on a regular basis to see if they want to continue on. That's one way of seeing if they're getting to their goals. Another thing is people talk. You join Toastmasters because you want to talk. and people talk, and we just have to listen. If you're listening, you can find out, well, this person hasn't shown up, or they're not. They don't seem to be excited about the experience. And that's another way of making sure that people are getting what they're looking for. So I think that if we're doing our job as officers, we're supporting the members. The members are not supporting us. We're supporting the members by watching them, listening to them, and making sure that they're happy campers, so to speak, which Lori and I are happy campers right now in Florida. So just add that. But the thing is, we just want to make sure that people are getting what they want. And if they're not showing up, one of us will call them, say, hey, haven't seen you in a while.
There have been some years where we've had the VP of Ed do a more formal thing where sending out email and asking people what their goals are. I don't think I've done that this year. So it's been more informal of just talking to people. But we tend to learn when people are new and they give their icebreaker or they introduce themselves, they kind of share with us why they joined the club and what they're interested in. I know we have a member who is a remote member from Ohio, and she let me know that, you know, she wants to fast track speeches. She didn't want to hog the speaking slots, but she's willing to be ready and maybe be a backup speaker, or when we're, you know, people have busy lives, like during the holiday season or during the summer, it's harder to fill roles. She's willing to give a speech anytime because she wants to get through the program. And so other people might just want to develop their confidence speaking in front of the room. And so doing a table topic or telling a joke or doing the invocation thought of the day is enough for them to get that speaking time in front of the room or on camera, and don't necessarily have to go through and deliver so many speeches. So it varies.
Those variable goals, and something that Rick mentioned before that was very important is listening, right? We do a lot of speaking. We like to speak. And part of it, and Rick mentioned as well, it's the job of the officers to support the members, not the other way around. So part of the skills you acquire as that officer are those listening skills as well. What is the member saying? Maybe not directly to me, but indirectly with their speeches, their participation, their attitude. And is there something that you need to do as a club officer to make sure that that member is getting all of they need? So listening to what the member is telling you, either directly or indirectly, and helping them as a club officer. Well, we are close to the end of the interview. I'd like to continue on with asking club officers for all the great information they've been getting us. We could go on for hours talking and getting tips from Metrowest Toastmasters, but we have to wrap up at some point. And from the concluding question, I'd like to ask all of you, if we haven't figured this out already, why should somebody come visit Metrowest Toastmasters?
I would like to answer that and then have other officers step in as well. We have a unique club. How is it unique? We have members from Japan. We have a member from Ohio. We have people that have checked out our club from outside of the district, far outside of the district, and come as a regular member to our club. As a matter of fact, one of our members from Japan a couple years ago won first place in the humorous speech contest at the district level. Why is this happening? Because we bring experience and we bring caring. Listening, I think, is a major thing. When somebody new comes in, they see what's happening in the club and they like it, or they don't. But I always encourage people, if they think of Toastmasters, check out a few clubs. See which one has the flavor that works for you, and that's the one to join. We've been successful because we have a variety of flavors, and it works. When we give speeches, people listen and they give really good feedback. That's what keeps people coming, and that's what makes the club grow. I'd like to turn the chair over to the next Toastmaster and one of our officers.
Can I go next? So when I tell people that in our club we have some members from Japan, they're like, oh, you have people who were from Japan who are members. I'm like, no, they live in Japan. So just want to clarify that, make sure it's really, so we have 2 members who live in Japan and they're Japanese, and I've learned so much about Japan and their culture from our Toastmasters and from their speeches. And also I found that our basically, I find that our members are very supportive, welcoming, helpful. Like when I was new, especially, I could call just about any member who's been there a while to ask for help, and it's just been really, really great. And also, like when you're giving a speech, if you make mistakes, like, you know, they're not really harsh about it. They tell you what you could do better, but you know, you don't feel so bad about making mistakes if you do. So I just found that, you know, it's just a really great place to grow and be able to improve your speaking ability in front of an audience and make friends at the same time.
Thank you, Heather.
I think I'd like to add something to that question. And I think Heather did nail it on the head when she talked about our 2 members from Japan. It is an opportunity to learn about other cultures, that is true. But I think it's also an opportunity to build on skills. Learning about other cultures is a part of it, because whatever we're doing, whatever industry we're in, everything is much more global, and it behooves anyone that wants to be successful to have some comfort and some knowledge about different cultures and to be able to communicate with different people. I think that's very important. I think Toastmasters can build on that. I think that you can build on leadership skills. You can discover that you have leadership skills. You can discover a lot of things. And things are ever changing. When I came into Toastmasters, I came for one purpose, and then it turned into another one and several more. And I got a lot more than what I anticipated when I was invited to visit a Toastmasters club. And then when I joined, I feel like I got my feet wet right away. I was not allowed to sit on the sidelines. And I grew because of that. So I think it's just a marvelous place to grow. It's a marvelous place to develop yourself and to expand and find talents that you never imagined that you had. So that's an important reason to visit and hopefully join our club. Back to you, Christian.
Thank you, Vicki.
I'm going to wrap up and add some wonderful things too. It's great to hear what everyone else has said. We have something else unusual about our club. We have a past district director. We have several DTMs, several people who have been president and served as district leaders, and we retain their membership. One of the reasons I created and chartered Metrowest Toastmasters is I was a member of another club where, for some reason, there was this trend after the person served as president, they dropped out. They dropped out of the club. And we have long-term members who've been our charter members who are still here. We cycle through different officer positions, and even after being a president, we're still part of the club, and we have that member strength with skills. And so newer people are attracted to seeing those strong skills, and they present themselves in either a speech or an evaluation. Being evaluated by a strong member makes a difference. So I think that that is another reason to join our club.
Thank you, Lori. And would anyone like to tell us when the club is meeting, the days of the week and the location?
Go ahead, Lori.
We meet on the second and fourth Thursday of every month. One of those meetings is hybrid and one is on Zoom. If you get in touch with us, our agenda always, we put on our agenda which one is hybrid. It's not always consistently like the first meeting of the month. It would depend on if the library is available, but it tends to follow a trend of every other meeting when possible. We meet at 7 p.m. We start promptly, so we like people to join in either in person or on Zoom by 6:45 when we open the meeting. And we end, depends, if we're in the library, we end at 8:30. Otherwise, we might go to 8:45 when we're on Zoom.
Thank you for sharing that, Lori. And that will be posted at the end of the video. The information Lori just said about how you can join one of the Metrowest Toastmaster Club meetings, and it'll also be below the video in the video description. So check out that description and see the very end of the video, which is coming up soon, about how you can join Metrowest Toastmasters, where all are welcome. I'd like to just summarize what I heard during this panel discussion today. Metrowest Toastmasters is a club where everybody is welcome. Members from different areas and walks of life. The club just truly cares and helps all advance their goals. There is a mix of experienced members and newer Toastmasters in the club, just not one or the other. And it's the job of the officers to support their members. They listen to your goals and make sure that you're meeting them. Get involved right away and discover the talent you have that the club will help you unlock. Consider using free Toast Host to manage your meetings, fill agendas, keep track of speeches, and track the number of meetings that members took roles in. Get better at speaking is not just about speaking, but it's about constructive evaluations. And Metrowest Toastmasters takes evaluations very seriously. In fact, not only do they give speech evaluations, they have a 5-minute slot at the end of the meeting to give an evaluation on every role in their meetings. So if you want to get evaluated, not just on speeches, but on how you're doing your other leadership roles in the meeting, come to Metrowest Toastmasters and they're going to give that evaluation. Last but not least, meeting organization. All of those roles are filled beforehand. Speakers are lined up. Leadership roles are lined up from start to end. And you know what that is? Because Metrowest holds a perfect meeting. Thank you all for joining us this evening on Club Close-Up. It was a pleasure talking with all of you about Metrowest Toastmasters, and I'm wishing you the best 2023-2024 Toastmasters year yet.